Humanity may have hit their population ceiling, and we're just starting to see the effects, and what comes next genuinely frightens me. This one really surprised me, but India's population growth has fallen below replacement, and we're seeing this everywhere. 20 countries are expecting their population to halve by 2100. You may ask, what can be done? And none of the answers are good. We'll talk about it. The baby boom happened between the 40s and 60s, where people were having huge families, and that made sense. Medicine had gotten better, infant mortality had gone down. If you had a child, you could reasonably expect it to grow up to adulthood. As a result, people had fewer children, and then put more resources into each individual, and that ended up becoming an industry all on its own, child rearing. And I do want to reiterate, we are not just talking about one place. This is not just the US, nor is it just France. We're talking about the entire world. As a whole, fertility rates are declining if you look at the entire human population. Yes, you will find areas where people have more children, and some places where people have a lot less, like South Korea. Population growth did slow right around the 60s, right as we were getting out of that baby boom. Our absolute peak is expected to be about 10 billion people, but what happens leading up to that decline is also not great. We end up with more elderly people and no one to take care of them. We have lowered GDP. We do see that as profit goes up, fertility rate tends to go down because somebody has to produce all of that labor. And those people that are producing it may not want to have children to repeat the process. Interestingly, we are also seeing sky-high depression rates for young people. If you are between the ages of 18 and 30, you have nearly a 30% chance of having major depression. A lot of that is just hopelessness. There's no foreseeable future for any individual, and that plays into not wanting to have offspring. Our global economy is not made to be sustainable. It requires continuous growth. There needs to be more people, more spending, and when that goes away, unfortunately, the Tower of Cards will collapse. In the US, a lot of people do want to have children, but they're just not financially able to do so. There is no support system. People's families are fractured, so you don't really have grandparents who are able to help because chances are they're already working. Things like child tax credits don't even skim the surface of what it costs to have a child, not even in the hospital. Upwards of $30,000 for a non-complicated birth, and that is if you're insured at all. And both parents are probably working, so that means that child will have to go to daycare, which also costs a lot. It's basically a house payment, if not more, depending on where you live. So yeah, it's simply not happening, and there are policies that we can use. Countries like Sweden and France have tried them, as well as South Korea, having free daycare, having support for families. Free healthcare would also be nice. But even when we apply all of that, and places like South Korea did see a little boost, it doesn't change the overall trend. In ecology, we know that once a population begins to decline, there is very little that you can do to bring it back up if it stays isolated. So some of the only ways that you can fix that are having gene flow, so having newcomers come into the system. But for planet Earth, we are the entire isolated system, so something is really going to need to change. When I was researching for this video, I wanted to see if there were other examples of a population declining in history from low birth rate. The answer is yes, Rome. Rome actually had lower fertility rates, and there's lots of conversations about what caused it, and there were lots of reasons for the fall of Rome, as they will say for humanity. But yes, birth rate was one of them. Like it or not, we do need young people, and we need to take care of young people, and we also need people to have offspring, or we won't have a society. My least favorite part of all of this is that a lowered population does not mean better for the climate, because each individual per capita takes more resources than they did 100 years ago, and every generation each individual does take more. My favorite part of this, though, is perhaps robots. Making more robots to take the jobs that young people would have, because we just don't have enough young people. But let's talk about some of the really scary aspects of this problem. What frightens me most is what length society could go to in order to have another generation. Because we do have falling fertility rates, yes, both in men and women, and no one's entirely sure of the cause, but we also have a lack of the will to have offspring. So it is going to start with incentive programs. They will offer more free daycare. Things like health insurance would be nice. So maybe we will perfect artificial wombs, or maybe robots will take our place. That would be interesting. But I don't really see any real solution to this problem. We'll see how it goes. I hope you've enjoyed this. Follow for more.